All right. Season 3, episode
Episode
2,
2.
numero dos.
Already we just are chug-a-lugging through, huh?
It's what we do at this point, I
Yeah.
feel. We start, we power through, we finish, and then wash, rinse, repeat.
Yes. And it's so much to cover that we kind of have to just keep on going because there's
Right.
always a new topic to talk about.
Yeah, with these kids. Um, like we said from the beginning, we'll never run out of things to talk about. And I think today's topic is especially fitting because we
Mhm.
are in the middle of it. So, like we said last week on episode 1, we kind of want to take you guys chronologically as best we can. Obviously, Elijah's only 3 and Trey's only 2. So, the buck kind of stops here as far as what we can talk about with our own personal experiences. Um, kind of milestone to milestone. But in the first episode, we talked about that first year, which is so crucial, and you go through so many changes. And the good news and maybe the bad news is that it all starts over again when you get to year 2 and 3. And I think everyone, whether you have kids or not, everyone's heard of the terrible twos.
Yes.
But today we are going to explore whether it's terrible 2s or 3s. So I am in the midst of terrible 2s. I don't know who I thought I was, but I low-key thought I was gonna escape it because Trey is 2 years old and May, June, July, August, 4 months now. And for the first couple months when he turned 2, nothing was really different. Not like he wasn't acting out. He was the same kid for the most part. So
Mhm.
he's still growing, still hitting milestones. I think the biggest thing that I've seen with my son, aside from him just physically getting bigger, taller, and just kind of, gaining weight, is his speech just continues to amaze me. He's always been, I think, a little advanced for his age, but being able to have serious, full on conversations with him now is wild. But from a behavior standpoint, we were cool. And it's funny because I think maybe that's just his thing, because when I brought him home from the hospital, I was like, what is everyone tripping about? He's fine. He's all he does is sleep. And then about, I want to say 3 weeks in, maybe not even, maybe 3 days in, I was like, oh, okay, this is what everyone's talking about. And that's where I'm at now with the terrible 2s. Y'all, your man's be wildin'. I'm just gonna put it like that. And I just think I wasn't prepared for it, which I think is just, I should make a shirt that just says I'm a mom and I'm not prepared, because I think as much as we've tried to prepare, that's kind of the whole premise of our podcast, right?
Yeah, you can't.
You can't. These kids are gonna do whatever the hell they want to do, and they're gonna throw all type of curveballs at you, and your man's is striking me out left and right. The patience so I think it depends on your parenting style, right? So what I am finding, and I think this happens as you enter in year 2, because your child has more language and they have more experience, so they can do more. They can say more. Now they have the language to express how they feel. Trey's favorite word is no mine. It's one word. No mine.
No
No
mind.
mine. No mine. That and no way. No way. And he says it with a smile on his face, like he thinks it's funny, no way, mom, no way, or no. Lately he's been doing a lot of hitting. I think most of it is just not having awareness over his body. He is has always been a very physical and just kind of rough kid. He likes to play rough. He likes to wrestle. He's a boy's boy. And I think he'll have toys in his hand and he'll just have floppy arms. And if it hits someone, oh, well, you should have been out of my way kind of thing. And then there are other times now where I'm noticing where if I take something from him or if I do something that he doesn't like, he will kind of reach out and hit. So some of it is intentional, some of it is not. But my thing that I say to him is, no, you don't hit, and you especially don't hit me. And today he did something and I kind of like popped him on his hand, and he leaned in close to my face and wagged his finger in my face and says, "No, you don't hit me."
Oh, well, he been listening. I
Child.
mean,
And that's like where you find yourself, right? Because you're
uh-huh.
like, "I know you didn't just," but then you're like, "Oh, you heard me though."
Just
But
like when
you heard
Elijah
me.
said there's consequences to your actions. I mean, you can't get too mad because he's listening, but it's like, boy, you don't use my rules for you against me. Like, that's
Right.
not how it works.
And how do you explain that to I thought to myself the other day, I said, "Okay, this is where it gets hard." And I know that this isn't even the hard part.
Right.
He's 2.
This is just the beginning.
Right. I still pretty much run the show. Like, I'm bigger than him. I pay for everything. Like, I
Exactly.
pretty much run everything, but it is a constant exercise of patience because
Mhm.
of my parenting style. So I didn't know that gentle parenting was a thing until I was scrolling through the feed on our Instagram page, and I saw like a meme from somebody that was like, when gentle parenting goes wrong. And it was like a woman in the car, and she was like, "Please stop, please stop, please stop." And then she was like, "Please stop," like yelling.
Uh-huh.
And I totally relate.
Mhm.
I don't want to be the mom, especially with young Black boys. I just feel like
Mhm.
the men of our generation that once were young Black boys grew up just getting like yelled at, like just fussed at. Like that's
Mhm.
just, for Black folks, that's just part of our culture. Like somebody always just fussing to fuss. And I made a conscious decision, and I try to continue to make that. I don't want to be that mom, like, because I feel like after a while that becomes ineffective. Like, that's just falling on deaf ears. Like, they're not listening to you. Like, oh,
You
there go
just
my mama
fussing
just
about
fussing
something
again.
else. Yeah.
Right, exactly. And also, I think it's important, again, especially for little boys, especially for little Black boys, for them to feel like it's okay to have feelings, and it's okay to
Mhm.
cry, and
Definitely.
it's okay to be upset. So with Trey, now that we are really into a space where he needs discipline, I try like a 3-step approach. I try to ask him to do things first, because I think it's important that he understands that you can't just walk around telling people what to do. Like, you have to ask people. And then and also like to be patient in the execution of my ask, because I am the type of person, like, if I ask somebody to do something like today, Negro, like right
Right, I
now,
need it
like
now. Yeah.
now,
Right.
I have that bad. Like, if I'm like,
Yeah.
"Hey, can you do A, B, and C?" And somebody's like, "Yeah, I got you." And then they don't move, like, "Today, please," because
Right.
then I could do it myself. But I'm
Right.
understanding that he's only 2, so I try to give him like, "Come on, Baba, let's clean up your blocks." And he's like, "No, no, no," like all over the place. And I'm like,
Mhm.
"Now," like in my head, but I'm
Yeah.
like, "All right, let's count to 10, give him some time." And then like, "Come on, Baba, remember we're supposed to be cleaning up." Like, that's my approach to gentle parenting, is just trying to like coax him into things, talk him through things, but that doesn't always work. And
No, because
then I
you know what
gotta
I've found is at the end of that, at the I did the same thing or do the same thing. Like I give them 2, sometimes 3 chances, especially with cleaning up. After that 3rd one, actually after the 2nd one, if you don't clean up like I asked you to, there's going to be a consequence.
mm,
You are either going to time out or you can get a papow. That's what we call it, as a papow. And he never really has had one, but he knows what it is.
mm,
And that usually makes the decision for him. Like if tonight he cleaned up really really well. Elijah's 3, so he's a different age, but he cleaned up his toys. He likes listening to Gracie's Corner cleanup song that gets him motivated to clean, and I'm fine with it. He loves it. He's like, "Come
right,
on,
whatever
mommy,
you
let's
need,
clean
bro.
up. Let's clean up." I'm like, "Okay, let's clean up. I'll help him." And afterwards, he snatched my phone and wanted to watch something. So I was like, "Okay, you have like 5 more minutes before we need to go upstairs." I let him know that, so he knows how much time he has. When the time was up, I took my phone. No, mommy, no, no, I'm watching. Elijah, I told you you had 5 minutes. Now it's time to go upstairs. I don't want to go upstairs. Well, Elijah, we can either go upstairs or you can go to timeout. And then he
Right,
just sat there
okay.
sucking his fingers. And I'm like, Elijah, do you want to go to timeout or you want to go upstairs? I don't want to go to timeout. Okay, well then let's go
Sounds
upstairs.
like you
And then
chose to go upstairs.
mhm, then he went upstairs.
Yep. The same approach with Trey. And I think like you said, you're a year ahead of me. So that gives me hope that the way
Mhm.
that I'm approaching things will work because
It
right
will. Yeah.
now it seems to always and I'm gonna start incorporating timeout. In the beginning, when he was younger, like 1 on his way to 2, and you're kind of like trying out light discipline because they're still
Mhm.
babies that can't talk, like they're in
And they
that
don't
weird
fully
phase.
understand it.
Yeah,
Mhm.
and that would do a lot. But I kind of stopped timeout just stopped being an option, and I can't really even tell you why. I think it's more so, to be honest, just me, like I know that, like I said, is an exercise in patience for me.
Oh,
But I
yeah.
also know that Trey is really smart and he'd be
Mhm.
trying to play me, and I need to let him know to not play with me because
Exactly.
I would hate to have to let you know what that looks like.
Right.
So for him, same thing. It's like, okay, well, if you don't do A, B, and C, you're gonna get a pow pow, or you're gonna get popped, or
Mhm.
you're gonna or like taking things away is a
Mhm.
big deal for Trey. Like if I take something away, like today I picked him up from school and I actually was just having like a pleasant conversation with the director, and then
Mhm.
I noticed that his Buzz Lightyear was in her I was like, "Is that my son's Buzz Lightyear?" She was like, "Oh yeah, I heard somebody was hitting kids in the head with it." And I'm
Mm.
like, "Great." And then I was like, "Okay." I'm like, "Yeah, we've been working on the hitting. Thank you for letting me know. I will, address that at school." And then that's weird too. Like, that's really the first time that they've ever said anything. Because when I went back to pick him up, the teacher was like, "Yeah, he's been hitting a lot and telling us no." It's like 3 different teachers, 3 different people told me the same thing. And
Mhm.
I'm like, "Okay, why does everybody keep telling me this?" Like, damn, is it that bad? And then you start, your mind starts to racing. But I told him, like, he is used to getting, like, Baby Shark fruit snacks or some type of
Mhm.
snack, applesauce, something, after I pick him up from school. So, of course, he was like, "Mama, mama." He's like, "Baby Shark fruit snack?" And I was like, "No, you can't have any fruit snacks today because I heard you were hitting at school." I want Baby Shark fruit snacks, mama." I was like, "I understand, but you can't have those because you were hitting. So maybe tomorrow you can make better choices and not hit, and then you
Mhm.
can have some fruit snacks." "I want my dad." That's his new thing. And so, like, and I know that, like, kids play their parents against each other, but
Mhm.
it's new for Trey and it's real. And
Yeah.
because of the situation with right now between me and his dad, just meaning like we don't live together, and so Trey doesn't necessarily see his dad. He sees him every day because we make sure that he FaceTimes, and a lot of times Eric will come by, and so like he
Mhm.
sees his dad a lot, but it's
Mhm.
not like an on demand thing where dad
Right.
is just kind of always around 24/7. And he yeah, it's just very much like, "I want my dad, I want my dad, I want my dad." So I'm like, "Okay, sure, no problem. We'll call your dad as soon as we get in the car." "No, I don't wanna call." I was like, "But I thought," like, it's just
Right.
I and after working all day and just dealing with all the stuff that we have to deal with, yeah,
It's trying.
it's
It's
trials and
very trying.
tribulations. It's
Yeah.
trials and tribulations over here for sure.
Now, does he, because I know with Elijah, he tries things when he was 2 and currently, he tries things differently with me versus his dad. Is Trey the same way? Does he like test you more than he tests his dad?
Yes, and that's what makes me, like, question myself. I don't know if it's a boy thing with their
It is.
moms. Okay, great, that
It
makes me feel
is.
better, because
Mhm.
with his dad, dude is cool. I
Mhm.
don't get it. I'm like,
Mhm.
they can lay in the bed and watch a movie together. Trey will lay there and watch the entire movie with me. 10 minutes in, he wants to watch something else, or he wants to do something else, or he wants to go downstairs and watch it instead of being upstairs, or vice versa. He wants a snack. He wants this. He wants a kiss. He wants a hug. If I'm like, "Come on, let's go." "No, I need this. I want up, mama. I want up." Like I've never seen him ask his dad to pick him up. I've never seen like him and his dad get on the phone. "What's up, Skeeto? What up? What up, dad? What up?" With me,
Okay.
"Mama, I miss you. I miss you."
Uh-huh.
And that makes me think even more like, this little boy trying to play me. Like, you
It's
know
the
what I mean?
relationship that and I don't know if I don't know how it is with girls, but we can both speak for our experiences with boys. I think it's the connection automatically that a mother and son have, not only because we carried them, they were literally inside of us, part of us for almost 10 months. Then, the first year they're pretty dependent upon us.
Yeah.
And they know inherently that it's unconditional love. Uh-oh, you there?
Bro, what is going on?
It's okay, we can edit it out. I just want to make sure you're there.
Happening? No.
Girl, these computers be playing.
Bro, that's wild. Okay. I'm just not gonna touch shit. I'd like tried to move it. I'm just not gonna touch anything. Can you hear me?
I can hear you.
Oh,
It
child.
just froze. Okay, no, you're good now.
Okay. That was at least it's still recording.
Yes.
That was good.
No, nothing changed as far as the recording and all that. It doesn't look like it.
Okay. I'm just gonna sit on my hands.
So children, especially boys, know that their moms unconditionally love them. Like they know there is nothing that they could do to stop you from loving them and taking care of them. And it's just, we have to do everything for them, and they know that they have us wrapped around their finger.
Facts.
And I know Elijah does it with me and my husband all the time. Like he cries and whines with me and, Mommy, I want up. Boy, I am 5 months pregnant and you are 3 and you are half my height. I'm not picking you up. We were at the grocery store the other day. He didn't like some sound behind him. Mommy, pick me up. Boy, what do I look like carrying your big tail around in here? I'm not doing it. But he didn't ask his dad. His dad was right there with us.
Bro, that's my favorite line. I'm like, dude is right here. Like, he can read, he can write, he can cook, he can pick you up.
It's not the same. He's not mom. He's not mom. And, of course, both of our children's fathers are in their lives. It's not like they don't know who they are. But I think it's almost a father is, if they're around, they're around. But I think it's almost not, they almost don't know for sure if they're always going to be there. Not even that. I don't even know the right way to put it.
I know what you mean, though, because when you said, you automatically, a mother's love is unconditional and kids know that and feel that. I felt that because growing up, my parents got divorced when I was 10, and for a really long time. And usually when your parents are separate, you live with your mom.
Yeah.
And it's really easy to villainize the dad. And in my situation, my parents didn't get along very well. The divorce was just not handled well at all. And so for a long time, I had all of this resentment and anger towards my dad because he wasn't the one that was physically there. But over time, like through therapy and stuff, there was actually more trauma for me from my mom. Not, my mom was great, but just because she was there, but I wasn't getting what I needed. But when you said that, that made sense as to why, as a kid, I automatically blamed everything on my dad because he was the one that wasn't there. And I think when, to your point, I think the idea of mommy, especially for a little boy, is so different than that of dad. I feel like dad is the friend, dad is the fun one, dad is because I'm not gonna lie, it's been low-key hurt my feelings a little bit when
It can be.
My dad, I'm like, because he never used to say that anymore. He never.
But you're the one that's always there. You're the one that makes him do the stuff that he doesn't want to do.
Exactly.
Just like I'm the one that makes Elijah, we got to brush your teeth. We got to floss. We got to do all this stuff. Daddy's not doing that. Daddy's over there body slamming you and, sneaking you snacks and stuff that mommy won't give you and all that type of stuff. It's 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 partly
I know they lying. Go ahead. Sorry.
it's partly that mom always has to be, and I hate to even say that, but mom has to be the bad guy a lot of the times.
Yes. And I
But
just
it's
not man, I
yeah.
don't know who I thought I was or was getting myself into. Um, but I think that's the part that's like I'm trying to reconcile with mentally is being the bad guy
Mhm.
and holding to my shit because I am a softie. I'm a pushover.
Mhm.
And
Especially with your children. I
yes,
mean, your little boy.
see, that's my boss key. Like I
Mhm.
hate seeing him cry. Like even if I know he's acting up and he needs a little pop or he needs and now granted he's never had and I don't think he ever every child is different. I believe that some kids do need like heightened levels of punishment and I think you have to figure out what your child responds to. I
Correct.
Trey all he literally just gets popped like a little pop on the butt and this man looks at me like I killed his best friend like
Mhm.
Mama, how could you? And then he'll come in
Uh-huh.
for a hug and he'll say, I'm sorry, Mom. I'm sorry. And it makes me feel like the worst person in the world.
Of
And I'm
course.
trying to stay strong because I just keep telling myself, like, now is the time for this to happen. I don't want him to be 12 and I'm still trying to get him
Because
to
it's too
respect me
late then.
and listen. Right, exactly.
It's too late. There's too many outside influences. There's
Yes.
too much freedom that he doesn't have right now.
Mhm.
That's the hard part for me too, is that Elijah, not only is he 3, he looks like he's older than he is.
Mm,
So people automatically think he is and will judge or hold him at a higher standard than they should. Like
mhm.
he's 3 years old, like he's doing what he's supposed to do. But and Jonathan, with my husband, he disciplines him in a way that is can be hard for me to watch sometimes. Like he's never like beating him or anything like that, but he puts it down on him. Like he is not playing. He's like, listen, I have to do this because he is a little black boy and I don't want somebody else when he gets older to have to teach him a lesson that I needed to teach him when he was 3 and older. So it is hard. And we not only have to be the bad guy, but we also are the comfort. That's it. That's what I have to try to remind myself is like, yes, I have to make him do all the stuff that he doesn't want to do. But also when he needs comfort or when he is upset or when he just wants a hug, he's coming to mommy.
Yep. Same. It's the same thing. Like Eric Big Eric, his Trey's dad, like he to watch him discipline Trey, I'd be wanting to be like, "Hey, bro, don't be talking to
And
my
listen,
baby like that." Like,
I've gotten into it with my husband about it. Like after the fact, like, bro, you were a little bit like you took it a little too far. And
mhm,
I will, if I think it's a little too much for his age, I'll let him know. But they're gonna do what they need to do because they're a man and they
right.
understand.
And I think that's the value of, the blessing that we have of having our children's fathers in their lives. And I have to remind myself of that. Like he knows what Trey will have to go through when he gets older. I don't.
Mhm.
And so
Right.
I need to like fall back and let him take over. And then, like you said, be the comfort. But I also think it's important to, and I've learned this, to be on one accord. Like even if I
Oh yeah.
feel like, bruh, I will
Yeah.
you up in here. Like, don't talk to my baby like that. And,
Right.
like, in the moment, I have to just kinda let it be cool because we are their mom. So, like, as much as I don't want Trey to feel like he can play me and as much as I do try to, like, be a disciplinarian, that's still my baby. And so I
Mhm.
do still, like, at nighttime, he'll ask me, like, 7 times for some water and, typical kid stuff. And I give
Mhm.
into it because I feel like okay, like, I'm gonna cut it off, I'm not gonna let it be ridiculous, but, like, why not? I feel like we
Right.
grew up just in a world of no. Like I said, like, Black mamas and grandmamas just fussing because that's what they can do, and I don't want Trey to grow up like that. I also feel like so many of our Black men don't and not that it matters, like, love who you love, marry who you marry. I, don't care about that either way, but I do think it's sad when because I've talked to older Black men who are like, I don't date Black women because of my mom or because of my
Mhm.
sister, because of the disciplinarians in their lives growing up. But at the same time, I feel like with some kids that's necessary. So it's
Mhm.
all such a balance, and
It is.
the lines are so fine and so thin. It's so hard to know, and I think that's with parenting in general, if you're doing it right. And so, like, entering into the 2-year-old phase and, like, fresh into the terrible twos, I am just at a place where I'm just kind of, like, refining my disciplinarian approach, figuring
Mhm.
out what Trey responds to, and also just trying to cherish the moments. I think it's important to highlight too, like, this is a great time.
It's
As
a fun age. It really is.
an age, like, you do deal with a lot on the
Mhm.
disciplinary side. He's definitely testing my gangster, but I need to let him know his mom is, I'm a G, like, don't test me.
Right.
But he's so full of questions, and he's always like, "Mama, what's that? What's that? What's that?
Mhm.
What's that?" And to
Yep.
see him retain things and learn things and be able to, like I said, just, like, have full conversations. Like, the other day, I was asking him, I think we were at school, and I was picking him up, and I was like, "Trey, where's your, whatever?" And he was like, I don't know. It's probably at home." Like, what? What do you
Right.
mean it's probably at home? Like, what do you even know what
Mhm.
probably means? Like, now he knows all of his colors, he knows his shapes, like, just to see how much he's learning and retaining and how quickly it's all coming in and he's
Mhm.
processing it is, like, the best thing. I feel like I have, like, it's just like me and my little friend. Like, when
Yeah.
I definitely still need my breaks, but when I go
Yeah, of
to drink
course.
with him and he's not around for some hours or a day or whatever, I'm like, I miss my ba. Like, I just wanna hang out
Mm.
with him, and, the potty training is
I was gonna ask you how's that going? Because that's a typical age. I would say, first of all, boys are harder. Just put it out there. I've heard it from other people. I haven't potty trained a girl, but it was difficult with Elijah. Um, but it's typically between like 2 and 3 is when
yeah,
you typically start with the actual trying of potty training. But how's
yeah.
it going?
It's going. So I am trying to give myself grace. Just all around the board, I really am, because I think we all are really hard on ourselves as moms.
Mhm.
I question myself every day, like, was I too hard on him? Was I not hard enough? Should I let him do this? Did I let him do too much of that? And with the potty training thing, it's really hard to stay consistent. So
Biz.
I have introduced it, and I, like, today he ate dinner, and I took all his clothes off, excuse me, because he spilled tea on his shirt and there was rice all in his lap. So I'm like, we just gonna strip you down. So we just had on a little pull up. I switched from diapers to pull ups because at school, that's easier for them to continue with the potty training and, like, putting him on the potty versus diapers. So I just said, forget it. We'll do it at home too when we're not in training pants. So he's just in his pull up in his room, and ever since he could stand, he does this, like, sumo squat. Like, it's like a really good squat. Like, his butt is on the floor, but so are
Uh-huh.
both of his feet. So he's in
Yeah.
almost like a leapfrog kind of
Mhm.
stance. And just the way his face is looking, I was like, "Oh, yeah, you're pooping." I was like, "Okay, come on, let's go sit on the potty." "No, no, I don't wanna sit." So I had to fight with him about that, and then when he sits on the potty, I'm like, "Okay, come on, let's push your poop poop out." And he's like, "No, no way." And it's like, I've actually been calling, like, family members. Like, I called his dad. I was like, "Can you please explain to your child how to push his poop out?" I don't know, maybe it's different for a guy. Like, maybe I'm not explaining it right.
Yeah.
So, we're taking it day by day. I talked to my manager, has 3 kids, my new manager. She's amazing, by the way. She has 3 kids, and she was like, "Yeah, I potty trained my oldest son right when he turned 2 because I was on maternity leave, and then when I went back to work, he totally regressed, and I didn't understand why, and it was because I went back to work." So
Yeah.
he just wasn't, like, when somebody was there, like, ushering the process, it was working for her.
Right.
Then that all fell apart. So basically her advice was, like, same, like, in between 2 and 3, and she's like, "Don't rush it." Like,
No, you
but
can't rush it.
the other day, homeboy got up out of his bed because we're in our toddler bed now, so no more crib. So we have free reign of our room. That has actually been going well. For the most
Okay.
part,
Yeah.
stay in his bed. But he'll get up, open the door, and there's a gate right there, and he'll just stand at the door and he'll yell. And I don't think he realizes that I have a monitor, but he knows I can hear him when he talks. Mama, I poo poo. Mama, open the door. Mama, open the door. I poo poo. Come back, Mama, come back. So I went to his room, and the man got the diaper, the pull up, and the wipes for me. He had it like already. Like where I change him, he had it like all because I'll tell him, like, go get me a diaper because we keep them in a drawer that's low where he can reach it. And I was just like, okay, if you can open the
Yeah.
door, tell
He's
me
ready.
you're ready.
He's just playing. So, one word of advice I would give you, and obviously every child is different. We had our issues with Elijah. We started the first time trying to potty train, and then we all got sick, and it just didn't work. And then the second time, we were more consistent, and then he was in a home daycare at that time, and she was very consistent with us as well. Um, Start with just pee.
Mm.
Poop is a little bit harder. Um, we had issues for quite a while with Elijah with pooping, but number one, pee, he was good with once we got him trained with that. And he would have his accidents here or there. But once we got him to understand that he needed to go pee in the potty, um, he pretty much got that down. But we did the thing where it was like over a 3-day weekend. I kept him home. I stayed home with him, and I didn't put any underwear on him. No pull-ups, no underwear, no diapers, nothing. And gave him a lot to drink. And just it was almost like every 30 minutes or so, you got to go sit on the potty. And I would give for him stickers work for him, and they
Mm.
still work for him now slightly. Um, and anytime he would go pee in the potty, we would give him a sticker. And that seemed to work. And once he got that down, he still would have his accidents here or there because he was playing and he didn't want to stop playing to go to the potty, or he just wouldn't catch it on time that he needed to go potty, but they worked that out. Um, but start with pee because poo is a little bit harder.
Child.
It's a little bit harder to deal with, and it's definitely a process. But if you can do at least 2 days, 3 is better. But if at least you can do 2 days where you just keep him home and don't have anything on him, so he can feel what it's like if he pees on himself,
Mm.
he'll figure it out real quick. He'll figure it out quick.
What about like at night? Did you put anything on him to sleep?
So initially, we were doing pull-ups at night, and when his daycare instructor at the time found out they were doing that, she said, no, stop it immediately because he will become more comfortable with peeing at night because he's going to feel like, oh, I have a diaper on, I can go
Mm.
pee. So after that, nothing. We just put his regular underwear on and his pajamas, no pull up, no diaper. He did have quite a few accidents, but I just have a mattress protector on his mattress,
Mm-hmm.
and I was doing a lot of laundry. Unfortunately, that's
Mm.
that's that's what had to happen. But I also cut off his liquids earlier. He couldn't have any water or anything. I made sure we'd go through the whole bedtime routine. We would read his book, do his prayers and all that, and then I would put him on the potty one more time before I would actually put him in bed. And he would have accidents. I mean, he was having accidents at night occasionally up until probably 2 or 3 months ago. And
Mm.
it would just be occasional. Now he's to the point if he has to go pee, he will say, "Mommy, mommy, mommy," and I will come in there out of my bed and in my deep sleep that I'm in and get up and go take him to the potty. But I'd rather that than him going
Yeah.
in bed. But he will wake himself up and say he needs to go to the potty. And that takes a little bit longer, but they figure it out.
Yeah.
When
And I
he would
will say,
have the accidents, I would be like, Elijah, you have to remember, I just keep on reinforcing, if you have to go potty, you have to make sure you say, Mommy, I have to go potty because Mommy can hear you on the monitor and I'll come and take you to the potty. Um, and it's just like with the potty training during the day, you just have to be consistent
yeah.
and it takes time. But Trey is smart. He'll figure it out quick.
Yeah, and that's what I tell myself. So I think it's less him and more me, just like picking, like you
It's
said, that kind of
daunting.
it is. And it's, I think, again, like going back literally to episode 1, like I just got a promotion, new role at work, a lot more responsibility than what I had before, a lot more visibility than what I had before. So want to do a good job with that.
Of
Still
course.
have to work my business just because, it's 2022 and we live in America and shit's expensive. And then, we have the podcast and this and that. And then I'm still like, there's just a lot. And it's not complaining. It's just like I was telling someone today, I literally wake up every day and I'm like, okay, how am I going to figure it all out today? And so with the potty training piece, it's just really, just saying, okay, I'm going to do it. Like last weekend was maybe a couple of weeks ago, I didn't give him a lot to drink though. So maybe that's where I messed up, because I did say, you know what, today, because we stayed home for 2 days, just because I didn't, that's just what we were doing for that weekend. We're just hanging out. I was like, okay, so all weekend that we're home, we're doing training pants, no pull-ups, no diapers. We're just gonna wear like his real underwear. He gets very excited because he has Baby Shark and Mickey Mouse. I let him
Mm-hmm.
pick which pair he
Yeah.
wants, and Mama, I peed. But I think that that's really great advice. Focus just on, because I was trying to do both, like, oh no, you gotta go poop poop, you gotta go poop poop in the potty, and he like wasn't grasping that concept whatsoever.
Yeah.
Going to the potty, using the potty, peeing in the potty, he understands that, and he gets
Mm-hmm.
very excited to tell me like, "Mama, mama, I peed, I peed." So I think it's just sticking to just that, and then
Yeah.
also giving him the liquid so he can,
Mm-hmm.
like you said, like feel what that feels like, understand that sensation, and know, you know,
Yeah,
okay,
and you're gonna have pee on the floor quite a few times during that 2 days, 2 or 3 days, whatever you do. But that's how they learn. He
yeah.
has to learn that, like, I get this feeling, and then pee pee comes out. Oh, I need to get that in the potty because I don't want to be wet.
Yeah, and I cleaned up on quite a bit on that weekend too, because
Mm-hmm.
even just like sitting on the potty and making
Yeah.
sure that he's positioned right so that when he does pee, it goes in the potty and not on the floor. Because he
Yep.
was letting it ride all over the floor, and I was like,
Oh yeah.
no, 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 no.
Yeah.
And then also like, yay, good job, like very, cheering for him, and just making a big deal out of it, which I always do, but keeping all of that up consistently, and then
Yeah, or get
also,
him a little reward that he likes, like a little snack or like a sticker or, something like that. It just will continuously reinforce, like, oh, if I go to the potty, I get this or I get that. And that really, really helps.
yeah, I've been doing M&Ms, so, like, he'll get
Yeah.
1 or 2 M&Ms,
Hmm.
and because he'll say, "Mama, mama, I peed," and I said, "Oh," and then I'll dump it, like, because he has, like, a little potty, so I'll dump it in the toilet and then let him flush it so he understands that. Like, I'll say bye-bye to the pee-pee, and then he'll say, "Bye-bye, pee-pee," and then he'll say, "Okay, I want my candy," and then we'll go to, like, my little candy stash, and he'll get a couple M&Ms. So, like, I've been laying the foundation slowly. I think it's just, like you
It's
said,
just
like,
staying
kind of having
consistent.
that,
Hmm.
introductory weekend where we just
Hmm.
let it ride. So, I mean, all in all for me, 2 is, I don't know what the hell I was thinking. I guess I just thought I think he pump faked me in the beginning, and I was like, "Okay, yeah," and because everyone's like, "Oh, you terrible twos yet?" I'm like, "No, he's amazing, like, no terrible twos. He's still amazing, but we are definitely
You're in the
experiencing
thick of it.
the terrible two turbulence," and, I'm putting my own oxygen mask on first, and just making sure that, again, like from episode 1, just making sure that I'm good so he can be good, and staying patient, trying to stay even, and
Hmm.
trying to, be consistent and make sure that the way that I respond to any given situation is aligned with what he's gonna respond to help him actually learn, so
Right.
that when he's 3, hopefully, and you can tell me your experience, uh,
Hmm.
when he's 3, we hopefully won't be going through the same stuff.
No, you won't be going through the same stuff. It'll be totally different, but it'll be just a new set of experiences. It's totally different. Like Elijah's opposite of Trey. When he turned 1 and when he turned 2, it was like those days he had a feeling. It was like a light switch flipped in him. Oh, I'm one, I'm two, I'm about to cut up. It was literally the day of his birthday for
Oh
two.
my
He
gosh.
just woke up with an attitude, and I'm like, what is going on with you? But I would say for me, I'll just give a quick overview of two. Two wasn't that bad. He definitely threw more tantrums. I would say the no's were definitely there. He wasn't doing the mine yet. He's doing the mine now, which
Mm.
is just weird. I don't know. They're all different. He definitely was doing the no's. It was a lot more tantrums. But I don't feel like it lasted the whole year that he was two. I feel like it was more so in the first few months, maybe the first not even 6 months, maybe 4 or 5, um, where he was really like testing the waters, is what it seemed like.
Mm.
Um, and then for the rest of two, I feel like we had it kind of under control because we both figured out, me and my husband both figured out that we have to be more stringent on what we say. Like if we
Mhm.
tell you to do something, you don't do it, there's a consequence to your action. Now we weren't obviously always consistent with that because that's just life, but we tried to be as much as we could. So he kind of figured out what exactly he could or could not do.
Mhm.
Um, I understand.
What's the biggest differences, or what are some of the biggest differences that you've experienced between
From 2 to 3.
yeah.
So for 3, let me start off by saying Elijah has always been a good speaker. Like he has always talked really well. But he's been like, he's only 2, he's only 3, because how well he speaks, how clearly he speaks. Um, but now this boy he's on another level. Like it is whole stories. Like you'll ask him something and then it'll just be, I'm not joking. Like he will sit and talk almost for 5 minutes straight, just going on and on about a story that he has made up in his head, and he's just piecing all this different stuff, these different things together. And you're like, oh, okay, what really happened? Oh, that really happened. Oh, really? Like when he just started preschool, which is a major. It was a really fast transition, but he is taking it like a champ. And I just was telling him, I think tonight I was brushing his teeth and just telling him how proud I am of him because this is only his second week and he is just transitioned flawlessly. He's not having any issues and he's really enjoying it.
Mm.
But I'll ask him, like every day I ask him, how was school? What'd you learn today? What'd you do? And, he'll be like, oh, I did my ABCs or whatever, or he won't answer me. But one day I asked him, I said, did you play with your friends? What are your friends' names? He said, oh, well, Alexander wasn't listening. And Alexander, he was crying. And I told him he needs to sit down. And Alexander, he was being naughty. He was not listening. I said, really? What was he doing? Oh, Alexander, he pushed me and he did this and that. And he's just going off on all these things that happen. And he's like, oh, my friend Jody. And I was sitting next to Jody and Jody was doing this and that. And Easton wasn't listening. I said, well, Elijah, were you listening? Oh, I was listening, but Alexander wasn't. And it's just these whole long stories. And then the crazy thing is, and they do it at 2, but he's really doing it now at 3, is they remember what they tell you and what they didn't tell you. Because like the next day when we picked him up, I asked him how his day was, all of that. And then I was like, well, was Alexander listening today? No, I told you in the bathtub, which was the night before.
Oh,
I told you in the bathtub that Alexander was being bad and he wasn't listening. I'm like, oh, excuse me, sir. I'm sorry.
you.
It was a new day. I thought it might be some new happenings
Right.
at the preschool, but I guess not. Um, but he is definitely now into, he doesn't, I wouldn't say he throws tantrums, but they're kind of, he's not like falling out and doing those type of tantrums. It's just like he gets really frustrated, and what he'll do is he'll go sit down and kick his legs out and be like,
Yeah, like
I
a
don't want to do that.
An open display of their distaste.
Yes, he is
Yeah.
crossing his arms. He's pouting his face. I don't want to do that. And, with him, it doesn't really work taking things away from him because when I say that I'm going to take something away, I don't want that car.
Oh,
I
it's like,
don't
I
want
don't want it anyway. Yeah.
He don't want it anyway. So that doesn't work for him. It is the threatening of timeout and a threatening of a pow. That's
Mm.
all that really works. Because he doesn't really, he cares about his belongings and his toys and things, but he is not moved by it because he will just tell you he doesn't want it. So he is doing definitely more of the, I don't want to do that, or I'm just going to sit down and cross my arms. And he is getting better. I think we spoke about it, and now I can't remember in what episode, but about him not wanting to. I just lost my train of thought. That's pregnancy brain.
Pregnancy brain.
I literally knew what I was about to say, and it just literally left me. What in the world? It just literally left me.
If I ask you a question, will that help or hurt you?
Go ahead and ask me a question.
No, I was gonna ask, with the threatening of timeout and papows, like how, like what's the ratio of threatening to end to actually like having to execute?
So for me, if I have to ask him more than his dad says, if mommy has to ask you more than once, then you're automatically getting a consequence. I'm not that harsh. I'll give him 2 times. And after the second time, I will say, Elijah, if you do not do whatever I'm asking him to do, you're going to get a papow. If he doesn't do it, or timeout, most of the time it's timeout. If he doesn't do it, go to timeout right now. He gets 3 chances with me at the most.
Yeah,
At
I
the very
try to
most.
stick to that 3 rule too, but I'm getting with Trey now, I'm finding like what we were saying earlier, we were having our like catch up session before we started recording. He doesn't like, I have to yell, and I hate that I have to yell, but it's like if I just ask him to do something like, Trey, can you please? Trey, can you please? Hey, Trey, do this right now, and like put a little bass in my voice. He doesn't. And then when I yell, he goes, Mama, like,
Like he's just appalled.
like, oh my God. Like, yeah, like he's shocked and appalled. And I've started to tell him, I'm like, Trey, I should not have to ask you to do something more than once. I definitely should not have to tell you to do something more than twice. Because to me, I ask him once, tell you once, and then on the third time, now I'm just going to flex like my authority, but I don't even want to have to get to that point. So I was curious with 3, like how often you actually get to the point of having to like deliver.
Girl, it'd be all the time. He'd be at the brink of getting a timeout because he's really trying it. He's just really testing his boundaries with what he wants to do when he wants to do it. He knows perfectly well what I'm asking him to do. He'll look at me, he'll start dancing around and smiling and stuff. I'm not playing with you. Like you need to do what I asked you to do right now. Otherwise, there's a consequence to your action. And we've been telling him that for I don't know how long now. And he understands it, but he is just going to keep on trying it until I have to go make him sit in timeout. And his timeout is we have like a little kiddie table for him that's in our office downstairs. And I'll turn the chair around and he kind of has to like face the wall in the chair. And I only do it for 2 to 3 minutes. It's not super long. And he'll go and sit there when I tell him to, but then he's like peeking back, looking at me like, no, you need to turn around. You need to sit there and you made that choice. And then once I get him up from timeout, I have a conversation with him explaining why he got to timeout and telling him that I love him and I know he can make better choices. And then I make him give me a hug. Well, I don't make him, but I give him a hug.
Yeah.
And he's usually fine. Like he almost never is like crying or like super upset when I put him into timeout, but he understands that that's a consequence. Now we have our first little parent teacher conference for him with preschool tomorrow. But he's only been in there not even 2 weeks yet. I haven't heard that he is doing anything in bad behavior at school yet. I don't really think I doubt he's doing that because the whole time that he was in both of his daycares, he never had an issue. He
Yeah.
tries it more at home. Now
Mhm.
he would, sometimes, I think tell her no or be silly when he's supposed to be doing something, but that was really the extent of it. I think more so now when he gets home from school, he needs to decompress and he doesn't know how to channel his energy. So
Mhm.
that is when I'm noticing, and then, like I said, it's almost been 2 weeks. I'm noticing that is when he's trying it more. That's when he's acting out a little bit more.
Yeah.
And I think that's just going to, I think that'll go away because he just is getting acclimated to going to school. He
Yeah.
doesn't really understand everything yet, and he's in a new schedule and new environment and all of that right now.
And I think that's important to take into account too. I always put myself in the space of, or I try to put myself in the space of Trey. Like when I'm tired, when I'm hungry, when I'm overstimulated,
Mhm.
I'm not the most pleasant either. I'm not the
Right.
most apt to want to do something. Like if somebody's like, hey, go do A, B, and C, I'm gonna be like, no, because I'm tired and I don't feel like it, but I'm grown.
Exactly.
So I try to take that into consideration as well when Trey is like today, he was hitting at school. And I know that his sleep schedule has been off at home. And then I saw
Mhm.
he only took a 45-minute nap. Now, that's not an excuse. You still should not be hitting people. But I'm like, okay.
It
So in
makes
my
sense.
head, yeah,
Yeah.
I'm like, okay, because this is, this is the first time they've ever said anything like that to me. Any really behavior stuff, like he said stuff here and there when he was like younger, like he bit somebody one time, they were fighting over a
Yeah,
toy,
it happens.
but like stuff like that. But this, I just made it very clear to him today. I said, so what are we going to go to school to do? And, or what are we not going to do at school tomorrow? No hit. And like his dad reinforced. So we'll see what happens with him tomorrow. But those pockets of time where they're responding the way I think grown people want to respond. So we've just been programmed not to.
Right.
We're adults and we know like we can't fall out in the middle of the grocery store like this shit's so expensive. I don't want to buy.
Right.
We can't do that.
Right.
But and they just don't know that yet. So that gives me hope. And I'm not, I don't want to say that in a way where it comes off like I'm just like, damn, y'all, this shit so like help me. Cause I'm not, but every child is different. And when they're one and they're babies and they're first starting to, even like when they first turn to, at least in my experience, it's so they probably feel the same way. You just want it to be like rainbows and sunshine all the time.
Of course, yeah.
2 years in, I know better. I know it's not going to be,
Mhm.
but I guess I'm still adjusting to what it is right now. It's a latitude. And then I also have to like check myself because I'll be like, "Man, who are you talking to?" And I'll ask them like, hey man, who are you yelling? That's a new thing too. Yelling. But I know
Mm.
it's because I yell at him. So then I think, well, should I stop yelling at him? But it's like he doesn't respond to it unless I yell. Same thing with like hitting. I wonder if that's because I, have been popping him on his hand when he does stuff or like popping him. So it's like going back to that, just constantly questioning yourself of whether or not you're doing the quote unquote right thing.
And it's trial and error. I mean, we we're learning along with them. Like
Mm,
this is their first time here. They're learning everything brand new. We've been here a little bit longer, but it's our first time dealing with our first child. So as we're going through each of these stages, we are learning along with them. So we can't expect for us to be perfect, but I feel like if we are tuned in to who our child is and how they are wired and what they respond to and what their triggers are. And, both of us know you can tell when your child is tired, you can tell when they are not feeling well. All of that plays into how you approach dealing with the difficult times. Because honestly,
yeah,
the good definitely outweighs the bad, but
sure.
the trying times, they're trying, and it's not like it's just them trying you're understanding that like they're trying you, but this is also shaping them into who they are going to be, and
Yes.
that's the most important thing.
Yes. And that's what I tried to keep in mind. Like what because I believe very strongly that, like, even though he's 2 and he may not be able to say when he's 12 years old, "Mom, I remember that day where you picked me up from school and I had hit a kid in the head with my Buzz Lightyear and you told me,"
Right.
but the lesson that comes from that, which is you do not put your hands on other people. And now here's where I'm struggling, because with this situation in particular, a few weeks ago, a little boy hit him. And I said, "Well, what did you do?" He was like, I won't say the name, but he was like, "The little boy hit me." And I was like, "Well, what did you do?" And he was like, I said, "Did you tell your teacher?" And he was like, "No." I said, "Well, okay, the next time that somebody does that, you tell your teacher." And I said, and then you hit him back. Like,
And
but
that's the same thing we tell Elijah. If somebody hits you, you not just go sit there and take no hits.
right. And then I was like, and then you hit him back. Like, you make sure you hit him back, but you also need to tell the teacher. And so then today, when I was like, "So you were hitting people?" All he kept saying was, "I hit him back. I hit him back." Now, I'm sure if another kid was the aggressor, the teacher would have told me. But then I'm also like, well, maybe the teacher didn't see it. Like, there's just so many things to consider.
Because you really
But
don't know, especially when they're 2. It's like,
they'll
yeah,
say anything. Like, he'll say, "Oh, if Bud Light, look, Mom, if Bud Lightyear, like to infinity and beyond." Like, that's his favorite thing to say before he takes off running. So, like, you want to entertain it and you don't want to come off like, okay, who cares? But at the
yeah,
same time, you also know you're talking to a 2-year-old. And so it's like finding that fine line and just making sure it really is. And I think that's just parenting, period, making sure that you are reinforcing the lessons so
that's
that
what
when
it's
you're
about.
older,
Mhm.
that's what you remember. I want him to remember, don't play with mom. Don't play with me. That's really where I just want to get to that point where I just look at him and I'm almost there, because he'll be going to do something and he'll see me watching him and he'll go, "Hi, mom." Or because he's sneaky. Or like if he does, if he's not paying attention or he reacts and he hits me,
Mhm.
he'll say, "Oh, sorry, mom." Like before I say anything, "I'm sorry, mom. I sorry, mom. No hit. I sorry, mom." So I'm getting
Mhm.
to the point where I don't have to say anything, but like that's my dream goal. Like I just want to be able to look at him and he already know what it is. Like, you need to don't play with me.
Oh,
And
yeah, and
also,
he'll get there. I feel like I'm pretty much there with Elijah. I mean, he tries it still, but he knows when he's doing something he's not supposed to, because 'cause he'll just look back at me as he's doing it, and I'll be
mhm,
like, "Nah, Elijah." I won't even say, "Nah, Elijah." I just give him the look like,
look,
"Nah, Elijah." And
mhm,
he'll stop, or he'll try a little bit more, and then I'll have to say, "Elijah," and then he'll stop. But that's what it is. It's constant reinforcement, just like with potty training. It's constant reinforcement, and you're building on, it's like stepping stones almost. Like you're building him up so he can understand, like, there's certain things you do, certain things you don't do.
yes,
But I think we're both on the right track in doing it while they're young, because the longer you wait, the
yes.
harder it is to break them of things.
Yes, and I also think it's so important that we both called out, like you were talking about, like when you get him out of timeout, you have a conversation with him and you tell him that
Mhm.
you love him and you give him a hug. I think that's so important for kids, but again, especially for boys, especially for little black boys. And to like, I want Trey, when he's a man, to not only be able to regulate, recognize, and talk through his own emotions, but to still feel like he can, like, you don't have to call me for everything, I won't expect that, but I want his relationship with his mother to be a safe space. I know
Mhm.
so many men, especially black men, whose relationships with their mothers are not safe spaces for them
Mhm.
because of how they were disciplined growing up and because of how that relationship matured over time. And I just am so conscious above all else. And it's not a fight, but it is something that I have to defend sometimes, even with like family members. Like, why are you doing this? And why are you doing that? Like, because at the end of the day, that's still my baby. That's still my child. Like, I still want him to know that I love him, even in the midst of and after me having to discipline him. Cause
Yeah.
I'm doing that out of love. And I
Right.
want him to feel that that's what it is. Like, mommy's
Right.
not yelling
You're
because
just not trying to be mean to him.
right. And I tell him, I was like, mommy doesn't want to have to yell, Trey. I don't want to yell at you. I don't wanna have to put you in timeout. I don't wanna have to take your Buzz Lightyear away. Like, I don't wanna I wanna be able to give you the snack of your choice. But you made the decision to do A, B, and C. So now this is what mommy has to do. Same thing. And I'm going to start using that. I love that you and Jonathan actually use the word consequence, because that's
Mm-hmm.
exactly what it is. And they
It
need to
is.
understand that there's a reaction for every action, a consequence for every choice, good and
Mm-hmm.
bad.
Yep.
And they need to deal with that early. I think the earlier that you can reinforce that in your kids, and you can, um, like teach them that and help them to understand exactly what that means, the better. Because that's really like, I had a friend, his mom, whenever we would go out, we were in our 20s, she'd say make good choices. She wouldn't say anything else, like don't drink and drive, don't da da da. She would just say make good choices, and every possible thing that we could have gotten into, she covered just with that one sentence.
Yep.
You
Mm-hmm.
just make good choices. And that's what I think we both are trying to just stay the course and make sure that we reinforce with our sons. What's your favorite part about the age that he's at now?
I just love how expressive he is and how he just goes on and on these conversations and his imagination. I think that's one thing that really has come out at 3
Mm,
is his imagination. Like he will sit and have first of all, he makes up songs all by himself, like words to
I love
songs.
that.
Like he'll use like the melody of like Twinkle Twinkle Little Star or something like that, but then he'll just add his own words and just be sitting there singing to himself. Um, but not only that, just like making up stories. Tonight he wanted to after dinner he wanted me to play with his trucks with him, and then he's like, mommy, let's go build the train track. And we built the train track, and he knew exactly what he wanted to add the bridges here and do this and that there. Oh, and then mommy, let's make a circle and let's do this and let's do that. It's
Mm,
so much more imaginative and can specifically articulate exactly what he wants to do and how he wants to do it.
mm.
um and it's amazing seeing him in that and knowing just thinking to when he was a little tiny little baby and now he is 3, and it's just amazing. I can barely even put it into words because it's just so amazing to watch. And then especially now getting him into preschool and seeing, even after 1 week, I've seen a difference in him and
Mm.
his ability to point things out. And he always knew his letters and his numbers and all of that stuff, but now he like, oh, that's the word two, that's and, that's r, that's the, and we I've been doing flashcards, his sight words and all that stuff with him for quite a while, but like him getting into a real school now is like
Yeah.
really reinforcing that, and that's only after a week and a half.
Wow.
Like
That's amazing.
it really is. So yeah, I'm excited and sad because he's just growing too fast. But
Yeah.
I'm excited to see how he progresses and how it continues to develop because he is only 3.5 now. So he actually on the 4th, September 4th, he'll be 3.5. So I know it's going to be even more development and more crazy as the time goes on. I wanted to add one more thing to what you said about the relationship your son will have with you
Mm,
as he gets older, just like with Elijah and I. It's not only that, and I see it a lot now too with different friends maybe dealing with men that are having issues with women.
mm.
It's not only their relationship with you, it's their relationship
Yes.
with women when they get older,
Yes.
because that completely shapes how they deal with a woman and how they see women.
Yes.
Um, and I definitely keep that in mind because it's sad to see grown men that are didn't have a mother that they felt loved them or was there for them or whatever, and they a lot of times don't know how to articulate that or don't realize that that's exactly what it is.
Hmm.
But it is plain to see that they didn't get what they needed from their mother.
Yeah. 100%. And I totally agree. And I think subconsciously I keep that in the back of my mind as well. Like
Mhm.
we were joking around, me and Ashley, my cousin who was on season 2, her son is now, I want to say he's 7 months now. What month are we in? No, oh,
Almost
he's
September.
8. Wow. So he's, anyway, 7 or 8 months, whatever. So we've been doing more things with the kids, and we were telling them over the weekend, like, you guys are going to be gentlemen when you get older. You're gonna like, because we were just like, where does it all go wrong with these men? Like,
Mhm.
they're such, so many. I mean, you think right? So many men are grown-ups and their families and you're like, and then you see some of the things that they do and choices that they make and you're like, "Well, I don't get it." Like, "Your mom is
Mhm.
great, your dad is great, you grew up in such a great family, why are you such a fuckboy?" Like, what's the problem?
Right.
Um, and I just don't want that for my son. I just want him to be, and I think that's what everyone wants for their kids, right? Like, you just want them to be good people, you want them to be happy, but I think that's an excellent point, especially when it comes to Black men and women, because we know that there are some, I mean, there's generational traumas, right, that we as a people
Of
are still
course.
working through. And I think part of the way that our people or our, Black women have traditionally mothered Black men has to do with some of that trauma, like that trickle down.
Oh, yeah,
So
100%.
trying to break that and trying to make sure that, like I said, that like the idea of having a relationship with a woman is not a scary thing. It's not a power play. It's not a, some of the things that the dynamics that I'm sure you and I have experienced, before you met your husband and all of that, like
Mhm.
just dealing with the opposite
Definitely.
sex. Um, I just want him to have the tools and the experience and the security in himself to be able to navigate anything and not feel the need to do harm to others in the.
Mhm.
I think we all sometimes, like, sometimes you hurt other people, you don't mean to, but I know for a fact that hurt people, and I don't
Definitely.
want him to, his life will unfold the way that it's meant to, but I always want me and our relationship to be a safe place for him, always, like a
Yep.
refuge, you know what I mean?
Mhm.
In whatever way he wants to use it when he's older. And I'm really, really happy and proud because I feel like it is. I know he's only 2, but I've had a lot of people, one of them being my therapist, which, she's a licensed professional. She's like, "I have never seen a more secure, well cared for, happy little boy." Like, you can just, and she's been saying that ever since he was like a baby, and I didn't really understand what she meant. My godmother said the same thing, like, you could just tell he's so secure. And I'm like, well, I don't like secure, like he's 2. He has no reason to be insecure. But I think what they mean is like he knows I'm not going anywhere. He knows I love him.
Mhm.
He knows like he's comfortable in his environment and comfortable
Mhm.
with his circumstance. So it allows him to do all the other things. It allows him to be
Right.
curious. It allows him to push his boundaries. It allows him to do all of that. And he knows there's no fear. Like, he knows that I'm still here in the morning. I still love him. Even when I leave him, like, I have a trip coming up and this is the longest I'll be away from him. I'll be away from him for 5 days total. And I know he'll be fine. I'm gonna be a mess,
Of
but
course,
I
yeah.
know he'll be fine. He'll be with family members, people that I trust, people that he trusts, and he'll know that his mom is coming back. And
Mhm.
he'll know that he will talk to me, throughout, the time that we're separated. So totally, I think that's such a great point that, like you said, we're shaping them into the people that we're gonna be, and then they're gonna have to
Mhm.
go out and interact with, like, y'all's kids, like, the people that are listening and a part of our community. I think that's why it's so important for us to share our experiences and, like, talk about how we're managing different things because we can learn from each other, we can grow from each other
Definitely.
better.
Yeah, and we're all going through it's slightly different circumstances for everyone, but essentially we're going through the same thing. It
Mhm.
may be at different times, maybe different circumstances. Like I said, it's all the same thing. We're just trying to do the best by our children and, you know, keep our heads above water at the same time.
Girl,
And just we both know and are aware enough, and I think most of our listeners, because they are listening to us, are aware enough that at the end of the day, it's not about us. We are just here to shape these little people into great, amazing adults and enjoy the process and just love on them and just be the parents that we're supposed to be to them. And sometimes it's hard. Sometimes we have to be the disciplinarian that we don't want to be. But that's okay, because if we don't do it, who else is going to do it? Somebody that we don't want to do it when they're much older.
Yeah, I'm really looking forward to, well, I won't give it away, but keep listening to this season because we will explore more of the discipline piece, because I think that
Yes.
the ages that we are at now, like we said, that's where that really starts to come into play. And I
It's
think this,
more foundational, I feel
yeah,
like
I think this
now.
is the
Yeah.
foundation of it. And I think, you lay the groundwork now, and then that evolves over time,
Mm-hmm.
depending on, your child's personality, because they change over time. And then to your point, outside influences start coming in when they
Mm-hmm.
middle school and high school and
True Lord, I'm not ready.
yeah, geez, we both was like, oh God, let's just
Even elementary school, I'm not ready for.
yeah, elementary school and even preschool, like just even daycare. Like there's other kids, because I'm like, why is he hitting? Like he wasn't hitting it. Some other kids that's it. And that's the thing too. You have to
And I'm
kind
sure they're all kid hitting.
yeah, I felt
Kids
better with
do.
the director. I was like, well, terrible too. She's like, it's okay. There's like 3 of them in the class that are all going through like a similar stage right now. So that made me
Yeah.
feel better, because and that's why I love, again, our podcast and the community that we're building, because you can feel so isolated sometimes. Like you're on this island, like, oh, I'm dealing with this thing with my kid, and what do I do? And it's like, well, there's like 50 million other moms right now probably dealing with
Right.
the same or a very similar thing. So,
Right.
you know, always so grateful for you and for this podcast and for our followers and listeners, because it just reminds me that one, this isn't going to last forever. So cherish it, find solace in that, but also cherish it, because he'll be 3 before I know it, and he'll be on to a new set of challenges and
Telling you a bunch of
development.
stories and
Right,
stuff.
yeah, telling me a bunch of stories and all of that. I will say too, his imagination is starting to bud a little bit. It's nowhere near, where Elijah is, but I could definitely see him evolving to that, because his older brother was like that. When Jaden was little,
Mm-hmm.
he was having like Jaden is just an amazing kid, and he at 3, like how you're describing Elijah speaking so clearly. The red stoplight means stop, and the green stoplight means go, and the
Mm-hmm.
yellow stoplight means slow. And I remember me
Mm-hmm.
and his dad, we're in the car like, how does he we're like, where'd you learn that? Oh, Mickey said, and just like you said, like a whole story. You don't
Whole
know if it's true
yeah.
or not, all these different characters, but just nonstop putting it together. And you're just like,
Mm.
it almost happens, and then, like, the developmental pieces, it's like it happens overnight. I swear I just woke up one
It
day,
does.
he was just talking up a storm, like, "Mama, what that? What's that?" And you tell him, and then he repeats it back, and then, like, he's got it, so then the next time he's like, "Mama, that's a blah, 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 blah," and I'm like, "Yeah, it is. I can't believe you remembered that after only hearing it,
Mm-hmm.
like, 1 time."
That's
And
all it takes.
I'm just constantly amazed by him, and I wanna, as, like, stressed out and, like, oh god, as I am, like, I've had to carve out an extra, like, 20 to 30 minutes for our morning routine, because I know that there's gonna be the resistance to something. Either he's not gonna wanna brush his teeth, he's not gonna wanna eat breakfast,
Oh yeah.
clothes on,
Mm-hmm.
he's not gonna wanna put his shoes on, etcetera, etcetera. But for all of that, like, of it all, there's so much. I'm just in awe of him every day. I
And it
still
won't last forever. He'll get over that phase and he'll be fine. They have their days just like we have our days, but
Mhm.
that like always wanting to be just I wouldn't say negative, just what we and my husband called contrary Carl. That's what we called Elijah when he was in that phase. Contrary Carl. He just you gotta be contrary. That's
I
what they
love
do when
that.
they're two.
I
It
swear.
won't last.
Yeah. And like I said, I won't say I am enjoying the ride. I am. I'm trying to figure it out. I feel like now I'm a real parent. I was a real parent before, but now I'm really parenting.
Nah, you getting
And
hazed in. So yeah, you
yeah,
real.
he is. He pays out of my ass too, but it's okay. And I love, like I said, like the progression of this season. I'm really excited for the upcoming episodes for you guys to listen in, because we're going to start to get into some of the phases that we haven't experienced yet. So we'll be able to
Mhm.
talk to, and you guys will be able to hear from some folks that have gone where we have yet to be.
Mhm.
And I'm really anxious to, and excited to learn from them and to see what we have to look forward to.
Yeah. And what we can prepare ourselves for.
Yes, definitely. I want to make sure again that we always thank everyone that listens and that follows. Again, like our following and our subscriber base just continues to grow, and we're so grateful and thankful
So
um,
thankful.
for all of you guys. And yeah, please DM us, follow us on Instagram at Shit Your Mama Ain't Tell You. Make sure you like and subscribe everywhere. We're on Facebook now, also at Shit Your Mama Ain't Tell You. We're on YouTube, so wherever you feel most comfortable listening and joining in, please make sure that you follow, like, share, subscribe, all of the good things, and stay tuned for next week.
Yes, it's very
Exciting.
exciting.
Yes. I can't
Thank you for
believe
listening.
we're almost done.
Almost.
Almost.